Well, we're back already. It's been like 5 hours, but I have the time. I had to go get dinner, so I stopped my stream. Let's talk One Piece. Got chapter 14, Reckless. The cover page, we get Luffy, a cape or a cowl pulled across his face, covering most of his body, and then some bats flying in. And I Count Dracula look on top of a building. You see a bell tower in the background, full moon. But yeah, it was this chapter was released during Halloween. I was curious when I was looking at the cover page. I was thinking it seemed Halloween like. And yeah, it came out October 27th, 1997. And yeah, pretty neat. Like the bats. I was still drawn with the animals. And it's alright. So, back to Orange Town. We have here is Moji. He's ran back after Luffy beat the piss out of him, dragged Richie all the way back there, and he's kind of out of breath. He's about to pass out. And he's trying to tell Buggy. He's like, he's got to tell him about Luffy, how he's a rubber man. He's got to let him know it's kind of a secret at this point. It's kind of a game changer if you think about him as a devil fruit user. If you don't know that up front, it could definitely fight you. But Buggy starts yelling at him because he says, he's like the kid Captain Buggy, and Buggy instantly assumes, which is correct, that Luffy, says Straw Hat beat you. He's like, not Zolo, and Moji's just like, I underestimated him. And he's like, I gotta tell you, sir, you gotta beware the rub, and then he just passes out. He just keeps saying rub, and then keels over. He says rub man, and the crew are like, what was he talking about? Rub? What kind of rub be so dangerous, They're like, it sounds like he was saying something important. And Buggy, oh man, that boy must have some diabolical rubbing technique. And the rest of the crew's like, oh, I guess Skipper's got it. And Buggy just yells, he's like, God damn it, Moji. He's like, this is gonna ruin us. He's like, you got beat up by a masseuse? Or a masseuse? He's like, yeah, you got beat up by a masseuse? Like, if this gets out, our reputation's ruined. And he says, load up the buggy balls. He's like, swab the decks. We're gonna destroy this town. He's all riled up. He's pissed. He doesn't want any of this getting out. Buggy's a man who cares about his reputation. He'll be damned if he lets that get tarnished. And then to the refugee town, the town people see Chow Chow approach, and he's still got his box of food he's carrying, and they are pleased he's back. They're glad to see the the local hero dog is being brought back, and they see he's all battered, and they're pissed about the pirates. Then they start asking about where Boodle is, the mayor. And they're like, he went out there to feed Chow Chow. Like, what's Chow Chow doing back here without him? They couldn't even get Chow Chow back before. And they're like, something didn't happen to him, right? And one of the towns guys gonna go, and then another townsmate says, he's like, don't go off half cocked. He's like, the mayor's, he's a smart guy. He wouldn't get captured, but the thing I'm more worried about is him doing something rash. Is kind of his approach. He tells him in a flashback, I guess, that going into town's risky, and that he needs to make sure that they all survive rather than worry about the town. And he's like, no, I'm just feeding Chow Chow. So as it stands, the mayor's been pretty amenable. Just deal with the town being destroyed. We'll rebuild. Let's just get the pirates out of here. So that's where we leave off in the refugee camp. And we cut back over to Luffy, Nami, and Boodle. And Nami's apologizing for going off on him. She's like, I don't know how bad she feels, but she, wants to make sure Luffy knows. She admired what he did. And Luffy plays it off cool. I like how he talks to Nami. It really sets up their relationship and Luffy's way of interacting with people, especially people he knows don't really care for him right now. And he says, that's okay. He's like, I know you lost some people to pirates. Like, I understand. Like, not that I want to hear the details. And Boodle's just like, oh, he's just getting riled up, He's tired of seeing people get hurt by the town. He's tired of losing stuff. Like, I can't stand it anymore. And Nami sees him getting all riled up, and he's like, they're being cruel and bullying. And he's like, and after what they did to Chow Chow, he's like, after he fought so bravely, he's like, as a mayor, I can't stand this. He's like, watching my town be destroyed. And Nami's trying to calm him down. She's like, you need to calm down. And, Boodle just yells, he's like, sometimes a man's got to do what a man's got to do. Isn't that right, Sonny? And Luffy's like, oh, yeah, that's right. You said it, old man. And Luffy likes that kind of, hard-boiled stuff. And Nami's just like, don't encourage him. Classic Shark Tooth Nami. And Boodle just yells, 40 years of hard work. And then it shows a flashback of a group of village that, landed in this wilderness area. There was nothing here. And they shows, Boodle as a young guy. And then you also see the master, or Chow Chow's master there as a younger fellow. A bunch of the townspeople are kind of, drawn a little younger from what we can tell. And he says, we'll build our town right here. We'll forget about our old town. Pirates destroyed. And he's like, so it's him kind of reflecting on them, establishing this town. Shows them all working over the fields and, building up, catching fish and starting to build a town, essentially. He says, it was only a couple houses at first. But after we cleared the land and opened the shops, people started to come. He's like, now it's a thriving port. He's like, we're old timers who built this town from nothing. And he's like, it's our life work. And, to him, he yells out, this town is his treasure with the people included. And, to him, like I said, they talk about treasures a bunch within these early chapters. And yeah, this is something they've labored over, something that he really holds sentimental. Like I said, the treasures are a lot more sentimental, especially early on. It's not that they kind of move away because it's like not meeting people that have treasures anymore. It's like what drives them, their ambitions later on. But a lot of this early stuff is stuff people hold dear and how that relates. And there is stuff that does show up like that, just not reflected upon the same way. Locke's character, for example, a future character, he holds dear his like memories with Corazon and his devil fruit power specifically is close to him, but it doesn't really have like a tangible thing. And it kind of progresses that way. Like there's things about Brook, like his afro could be considered his treasure, or what lies within his skull. The what is it? The Skypean technology. Man, why can't I think of it? The tone dial that's in his skull. That holds really dear to him. That would be more of a treasure than anything he could obtain in life, even woman's panties. But so Boodle holds close to this town, and a lot of the political leaders. That's something that Oda does good. Is like the democratic or the smaller aspect of the rulers. Like a lot of the few remaining kings that actually stay in the cities and stuff like that. They aren't really corrupt. Or the mayors, or because we'll get to Iceberg in Water 7 and a bunch of other places, but they all are really admired and loved by their towns. It's the nobility, the celestial dragons that are really despised, and the ones who make the world a tough place, and sometimes the Marines. But yeah, so after his big speech, he kind of reflects upon his life and their accomplishments, and he's frustrated and ready to, go fight Buggy. And Buggy, on the other end, he's worried about this masseuse and sends off one of his buggy balls, and you see him screaming, fire the buggy ball! And I love the panels for Buggy, and some of them are just really cool to look at. Like, he really expresses himself well. But yeah, he just blows up a row of houses, and which happens to have Boodle's house on it, which happens to have Zoro sleeping in it. Just destroys it. Nami's eyes she's just blown away at the power, and Boodle's like, my house is ruined, and yeah, Luffy's like, Zoro was sleeping in there. And after all the dust settles, they're asking, he's like, could did Zoro really be alright? And Luffy yells, are you alive, Zoro? And Zoro just kind of tumbles out. He gets up. He's like, it's one heck of a wake-up call. And Luffy's just like, oh, you're alive! And yeah, they're all stoked. And Nami just is like, how are these dudes surviving? Explosions, they're getting thrown through buildings. Like, literally, a nuke might as well land on them, and they're just walking away from it. And Boodle's just, he's just pissed. He's like, his town's just getting destroyed in front of him. Almost killed him and the people who were helping him. He's just like, that tears it, And he's like, I can't take another second. I won't lose any more of my town to these sea rats. And he's like, those pirates think they can do whatever they want. He's like, I'm not letting them wreck 40 years of hard work. He's like, I'm the mayor. I won't take this laying down. And he just runs off, and Nami's trying to hold him back, and he's like, let go of me. He's like, I'm through with this. And Nami's like, there's no point in throwing your life away. You're being reckless. And he's like, I know I'm being reckless. And he's got tears in his eyes. It's really powerful panel for the earlier stuff. Mind you, there's better stuff. There's way better stuff. But no, this panel is pretty powerful in the beginning stages. And he's just so tearful. And Luffy and Zoro, you can tell the look in their faces. They see that he's serious about this. They see he's not BSing. He's not like half-assing it. He's 100% willing to be reckless and go risk his life to save his town. And Nami's kind of shocked by this. She's like, to her, being a coward and living the next day, even though I'm not saying it's a bad thing, Nami's very good at it, and there's a bunch of reasons why she would think this way. But to her, makes more sense. But to Luffy and Zoro and Boodle at this point, they're tired of being walked over. To them, this isn't life, to have their lives constantly ruined over and over again, just to live the next day. And so Nami just kind of says, Boodle runs off, and he's like, Buggy the Clown, prepare to face the mayor. The intimidating Boodle comes to strike. And Nami's just like, the mayor was crying. Luffy, he likes to put his spin on it. He's not the best at putting things right, but sometimes he puts them just the right way by being so simple-minded. There's a couple scenes where he does it, but he can just be direct. He cuts through all the BS. He's not eloquent, but he can be direct. And he kind of just realizes, he's not realize, but he's putting it in the Nami that, he's not crying because he's upset, because he's sad. He's crying because I think he's finally doing what he wants to do, what he needs to do. He feels he needs to do. Anyway, Zoro's all stoked. He's like, things are gonna get fun from here, man. And Luffy just starts laughing, and Nami's getting mad. She's like, this isn't funny. This isn't cool. Like, this is dire situation. And Luffy just laughs at him. He's like, don't worry. I like the old man. He's like, I'm not gonna let him get killed. Nami's like, well then, how can you just stand here laughing? What are we gonna do to get out? What do you get out of this anyways? Luffy's like, I'm getting my map to the Grand Line. We're gonna steal that map, get the treasure, and we're gonna go to the Grand Line together. And he even holds out his hand. He's like, come on, let's join up to Nami. Like, you want the map and that treasure, right? She's like, I won't become a pirate. She's very serious. She's like, smiles a little because she's starting to warm up to Luffy, but she says they'll join forces and work together. And then Buggy's ready to load up his second buggy ball and send that sucker flying into the town again. He's on top of the drinker pub, and Boodle rolls up on him, and he's like, Buggy, get down here. He's like, get out of our town. And Buggy's just like, who dares? And Boodle's just grimacing back at him. Very intense face-off about to come up. And it shows Zoro, Nami, and Luffy walking to the drinker's pub to go face off against Buggy. We see Nami, who's like, you're not coming too, are you? You're wounded, And Zoro's just like, oh, I got better. And he's like, just laughs it off, and she's like, that's impossible, like, you're ridiculous. He's like, I'm more worried about my reputation than my guts right now. He's like, I've got a score to settle. That's Zoro for you. Just like Luffy, the tenacity, I mean, they could be falling apart at the seams, but it's worth it just to win. Even if they died after, it's still their reputation, their honor on the line. So Luffy's just cracking his knuckles, and he's like, I can't wait. And Zoro's, smiling in the back, holding a sword, and Nami just blown away at the craziness that is Luffy and Zoro. Best duo out there. Name another better duo than Luffy and Zoro. Don't fight together often. More often fight against each other because they're bullheaded. But goddamn, best duo. Best duo. Yeah, this chapter really drives home the treasure thing. I think it really peaks it off. We'll get one more chapter that really talks about it with Luffy's hat in particular. But other than that, it's kind of establishing foundation for Nami and Luffy to get along, and kind of showing some of Luffy's driving interactions with people, the way he reads people and the way he handles situations. He's kind of very simple and loose with it, but he takes a lot of what he hears serious. It's not like he's just floating it in at one ear and out the other all the time. If it's something pertinent to the people he's interested in or cares about or he's trying to protect, he takes that information and to the best of his ability, he breaks it down. But usually it's simple, but direct and effective. And that's one thing Luffy is definitely direct and effective. There's plenty of times he screws up by being too direct. Like on Wano, for example, right now. Years and years down the line of my reviews of this style. But current chapter reviews, definitely talking about. But he'll screw the pooch and cause a lot of flack for everyone. But he also can make people see how to handle a situation when they'd rather, I guess, behave like most people would, where there's niceties or there's a lot of avoiding a certain circumstance or outright trying to avoid something that is going to happen regardless of what they do. Alabasta is a perfect example. Vivi is one of the perfect examples of when Luffy's super direct, even though nobody wants to hear it or say it, and he manages to, reframe how their whole campaign goes and makes it a very successful endeavor in that sense. But in that same arc, he also gets captured really quick because he's being a little too direct. But nonetheless, Luffy's not an idiot, but he is an idiot. I guess is what I was trying to get across. But yeah, it kind of layers out some of that stuff. It's hard to put words to what Luffy's thought process is other than just saying he's primal. He's just very animalistic, very natural, like to how he would act on any basis. He doesn't really think more than he has to, but it's good in that. And the thing about Nami is you see a lot of how her mind works, about how she manipulates people or how she honestly views people. There's a lot of deceit in her character initially, but she is a very intelligent character. Oda even claims she's, the second smartest in the whole East Blue next to Ben Beckman. She's only 17 at this stage, I think, or 15 or 17. Yeah. But yeah, that was chapter 14. Forget the title. Reckless. That's what it was. Chapter 14, Reckless. And we'll be moving on to chapter 15 probably in the following days. It'll be a while. I only did this because I had the time. Did it yesterday for the same reason because I had the time. But that may not be the same this coming week. December's a very busy month for me and the rest of my family. Plus my normal work schedule. And then trying to fit streams in between there. As long as my internet's being as good as it is. So it'll be a little less frequency. Chapter reviews, the current ones, I'm going to stay on top of. That's a promise. That's something I need to do. And it's not too difficult right now. I'm picking up the pace and it's been a lot faster than normal. Especially without using the panels. I'd love to use them. Maybe if I actually had enough viewership, I could do what I was listening to Tekken talk about, and you can geo-block Japan. So none of their videos get there, so can't really get copy striked by Viz. But I'm a small YouTuber, and even though I probably wouldn't get copy striked right now, it's just better to keep it clean, build up from there, and then maybe later we can do some other stuff. But anyways, have a good night. I'm gonna go edit this and hang out and probably read some JoJo. We're on that Vento Aura. Can't even pronounce anything. Vento Aura or Vento Oro. Aurora? Vento Aurora? I don't know. I'm just gonna keep saying things, endlessly talking. I'm alone. Good night.